The country with more bikes than people. G'day, guys. How's it going? My name is Aussie Tash. I'm coming to you all the way from Brisbane, Australia, and I'm wanting to learn all things about the Netherlands. Today's video is about how many bikes you have. I know you have more bikes than people. Let's find out why your country is the cycling superpower that it is. Let's roll.
If people know me well, they know the fact that I really like the Netherlands. This has to do with particularly one thing, that is good cycling infrastructure, but also a complete different thought on how to design and plan a city from the North American model of sprawl and cars that is. That is why I want to tell the story of how the Netherlands got to where it is, how they make cycling work in their cities, and is the investment in cycling infrastructure a good thing?
Yeah,
Many
that's a good
people have the
question.
misconception that Dutch cities were always bike-friendly as they are today. This is not really the case, as cities in the Netherlands went through its period of building freeways such as other cities of the time. Back in the early 20th century, the reason why bikes were still dominant was because there were more bikes than cars, and they simply dominated the streets. They did not have the great bike lanes or beautiful bicycle parking garages as there are today, but they
Is
had
that
their
a
strengths
bicycle
through
parking
numbers.
garage?
This, however, changed during after the Second World War, as cities in the Netherlands were obliterated. The
Yes,
country
they
needed
were.
to rebuild itself. Also, during this post-war period, there was an economic boom all across the Western world, which deserves a video on its own. And the Netherlands was no exception to this. It was one of the countries that was receiving aid because of the Marshall Plan, and the Dutch gross domestic product went from a little over $1,000 in 1960 to $2,927 in 1970,
Wow.
leading to many people affording cars and causing congestion. The country, seeing all these cars, looked at the American model of city planning and thought it was the future of cities. The American model was simple, and that was to have people to live in the suburbs and then commute to the city center for jobs through freeways. US cities were very young compared to European cities, and they were easy to make car-friendly. Meanwhile, in Europe, the cities were old and they were never designed for everyone to own a car, and freeway plans will have required the demolition of these buildings to make room, or the covering of this canal to turn it into a freeway, or turning public spaces into parking lots. During this time, cities such as Rotterdam fared the worst for the cyclists and pedestrians after the war, because of the fact the city center was leveled during World War II,
Yes, it was
giving
by the
developers
Germans,
and the city planners room to make the city more car-friendly. Because of these policies, the amount of cyclists in the Netherlands started to plummet. Cyclist deaths started to skyrocket, and fewer people started to bike accordingly. Cities were not entirely given to the car, as in Amsterdam, people protested the construction of freeways in the city proposed by Plan Jokinen.
I do like the idea how they talked about and discussed, you know what? We have all these older buildings. Our towns, our cities, we're hundreds of years older. We've got all these buildings now. If you guys are going to build highways there, you're going to have to level all these buildings. We don't want that to happen. So maybe that's why they looked at cycling as another option. Whereas over in America, they were just building everything, just putting everything together, just pretty much starting fresh. So they did have that option to, like they said, to have everyone living out in the suburbs, building mega monstrosity highways and driving into the city to commute to work. So yeah, I'm just loving seeing some of this old footage, man. The bicycle car park garages. Oh my gosh. They were like sitting on top of each other, like 2, 3 levels. Guys, jump on, tell me. How high do these bicycle parking storage levels go? How do you get them up there? Is it like an elevator or something? I have absolutely no idea. But I'm just loving how this story is talking about, how it was back in the day, how they didn't want to change the bicycle program, but it looked like that it was going to, but they fought back and bicycles look like they've won in the Netherlands. Some countries maybe not, like they said in Rotterdam, was completely leveled out by the Germans in World War II. So the possibility of infrastructure for highways and stuff was more probable there compared to other cities.
This plan would have led to the covering of a canal and the destruction of an entire
And the
working-class
canals.
neighborhood.
You can't
In
take down
Amsterdam,
the
kids started to
canals.
protest how much space cars were taking away on the streets. Following these protests, there was an OPEC oil embargo where the countries of the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries decided not to sell their oil to countries that were supporting Israel in the Yom Kippur War in 1973. This gave a sense of shock to the Dutch people that their cars, which relied on oil, was not the best way to design society around,
Yeah,
and
okay.
there should be more options available for transportation. Because of these two events, this resulted in a push to move people off their
Build
cars
more
and onto
bike
bike. The
lanes.
government of all levels focused on providing funding for people to build safe bike lanes,
What
and
year
it
was
still
this?
does today.
2018.
Roads in the
Okay.
Netherlands went from looking like this to this,
Oh
and
my
as
gosh.
cycling deaths went down and people felt safer to bike, the average distance that a person
Oh.
cycles went up as
So
well.
completely
This
versed
was no
around, didn't it? Did
surprise,
the
as
180.
this is way nicer and safer to ride than this. The Dutch also went further to create a national highway system for bikes. People can bike from one side of the country to the
Really?
other in safe, protected bike lanes.
What?
Although it works in the Netherlands because of their density compared to countries like the United States, but
Yeah.
it shows the dedication of the Dutch in their quest to make their country accessible by multiple modes of transportation.
A national highway system for bikes. I'm blown away with that. That is absolutely incredible. I love it. The one question I have for you guys is that I've heard that it rains a lot in the Netherlands. I don't know if it rains every day, but a couple of the videos that I've seen in a couple of comments that I've got, they talk about the rain all the time. So how does this rain and rainy days in the Netherlands affect your ability to ride all the time? To commute to and from work all the time. Just little questions like that. But I love how there is a national freeway for the bikes. That is absolutely incredible. Australia, unfortunately, we just couldn't do that because we have a huge landmass, and in places in Northern Territory, there is highways that go for thousands and thousands of kilometers, and there's just nowhere to stop. There's no shops, there's no hospitals, there is nothing. Man, even if you run out of fuel there and you've got not a fuel tank in the back of the car, that's got extra fuel in it, you're in trouble, mate. And there's no one to get in touch with. Like, unless you've got, like one of those walkie-talkie things. You may have mobile coverage. I really have no idea. I've never traveled to outback Western Australia. It's too hot out there. There's nothing out there. So, like, except for the spiders and the snakes. You know how they always talk about, Australia has all the spiders and the snakes? Yes, we do. And in the hot parts of Western Australia and South Australia, that's where you'll find all those icky wicky critters, and I want nothing to do with them.
There are many ways how the Netherlands designs their bike paths, streets, and intersections, which make them
Where's all
safe,
the
and
helmets?
it's really not too
You
complicated.
have to wear
In all
helmets,
of these
right?
designs, the cyclist is protected when possible with these islands, and the cyclist remains in
Yeah.
line of sight of the drivers, meaning out of their blind spots. Unlike North American cities where cyclists are just dumped into the turning lane, creating these
Yeah, we have
protected
that.
bike
That's what we
lanes
have
does
pretty
not
much.
take a lot of space to convert from the typical North American intersection to a bicycle-friendly one. An important technique is making streets nearly car-free, or autoblue. While
I like
vehicles
that.
can
I
get
really
through the area,
do.
the streets are given a higher priority for pedestrians and cyclists, making it feel as if the streets are car-free. This uninviting feel makes cars go slower
And it's
as
the
the
trams.
drivers
The tram
want to be
system is
more
really cool as
cautious
well.
in a crowded street than an open one. There are also techniques such as traffic calming to reduce traffic flow or speed, such as one-way streets,
Yeah.
rough road surfaces, continuous sidewalks, narrow lanes, street cuts, and many more. There are some streets that don't look bike-friendly but are because of the low traffic volume. Thanks to filtered permeability, they are bike-friendly. To make the cities in the Netherlands efficient, the design of the cities often want to get as many people through the intersection, not as many cars as possible,
okay,
because
that's really
cars
cool.
are not people. Traffic lights often prioritize transit first, and other crosswalks turn signals red for cars as they detect cyclists approaching to the
Oh, okay.
crosswalk. Such systems are almost non-existent in some city centers in Canada, but are commonplace in the Netherlands.
Okay, so in Australia, we do have like cyclist lanes, but they're basically just on the side of the road. Very similar to in America. You have to follow the same traffic signals as, the cars do. So if you're turning if you're turning left, for example, and you're on the left lane, you still go like this, just so we know, like you signal with your hand so we know where you're going. It's maybe just been perhaps in the last, 5-6 years that bicycle lanes have been added when they're starting to build roads and stuff, like new roads and stuff. But yeah, you don't really see them a lot everywhere. We have those things like Lime scooters and stuff like that, electric scooters. They were on the rise for a while, but in Queensland, the government come in and squashed them, saying they're too dangerous. So they were deemed unsafe, even though people die in cars every day. I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, so hopefully we're moving forward to, making more bike lanes when we make and extend our freeways and stuff like that. Where I live, in the particular part in Brisbane, in Australia, where I live, it is overpopulated to the max, man. The highways and the roads, they just can't accommodate for all the cars that are there. It's absolutely crazy. In Australia, on a Sunday, people used to stay at home, it'd just be your relaxation day. Now they're all going there. There's hundreds and hundreds of people at the shopping centres, all coming in their cars, and it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's like peak hour on a Sunday, and that just shouldn't be that way. It really, really shouldn't. But it's overpopulated. There is way too many cars. It's the really, really sad thing is that they just keep on building more and more and more houses, and they've got no room to really extend the roads. They really, really don't. You're just all going to be squashed in there anyway. I think it has a lot to do with the Olympics coming up. So Queensland or Brisbane, I think, have the 2032 Olympics. So, they're moving forward really, really quickly with more infrastructure and roads and planning and stuff. But all it's going to end up doing is just overpopulating the area to the max. And it's a headache. It's a real, real headache. This bike stuff is really, really cool. I have so many questions about how they're stored in little bike garages. Guys, please jump on and tell me stories. I'd love to hear them.
Should not continue to invest in bike infrastructure because it makes for a better looking city. Although I will say a walkable city is more better looking and has a better atmosphere than this.
It looks beautiful.
There are tangible reasons why the Netherlands continues to invest in cycling infrastructure. The first reason is an obvious one, and that has to do with traffic.
Like I said,
a single car
congestion.
takes up way more space per person when compared to a bike or transit or walking. In this case, a moving car takes 28 times more space than a moving bike. All this extra space is space taken away from recreation spaces, street scenes like this, and the fact it distances development in massive moats of parking. As a result, it makes it harder to walk. Most restaurant owners would really like outside dining for their patrons, and in cities in the Netherlands, this is very much possible thanks to the reduced space for cars.
Not here
this
in Brisbane.
Is even better
No way.
during the age of COVID,
You're so
where restaurants
cramped.
can safely handle more people outside rather than inside. For anyone that can't drive, such as children, a house on the suburban fringes limits freedom, the very thing that some very car-friendly countries are for, as that person has to be driven everywhere. This freedom from safe cycling infrastructure is one of the factors why children in the Netherlands are some of the happiest in the world and ranks
Look at
highly
all those
on
bikes
child
there.
well-being.
In Queensland,
because
you'd be
of the
afraid it would
freedom
get
cycling
stolen.
gives them. This was a point made by the YouTube channel called Not Just Bikes, who I recommend you checking
They're
out
not
on the
chained
subject.
up or nothing.
While the US thinks the best solution to ease traffic congestion is to just add lanes,
No,
they
it's
forget the
not.
fact that you cannot reduce congestion by giving more space for cars.
No, you can't.
Rather,
That's
finding
just
alternatives for
stupid.
drivers such as train, bus, or bike, or a combination of all of the modes of transportation, which the Netherlands is great at. This use of all modes of transport is the reason why the city of Amsterdam has relatively low traffic for a city of its size. The second reason why biking is great is
Oh,
because
absolutely.
of how cheap it is compared to
Affordability. Sign
owning
me
and
up, man.
maintaining a car. With a car, it is expensive to buy, second, it costs more to maintain, and one has to buy gas, and electric vehicles are
And
not cheap enough for the
insurance
average
and
person
all
yet.
registration and all that sort of
This makes
stuff.
biking a compelling option when there are safe road conditions, such as in the Netherlands. Biking is a lot quieter than any vehicle.
It is very, very quiet. It's less congested. Guys, jump on, let me know. I seen all those bikes in that huge alleyway there, just parked there. I didn't notice any chains. Do you guys not chain up your bikes, man? In Australia, I'm telling you right now, if you don't chain your bike up, it's gone. It's not going to be there when you get back. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. In Queensland at the moment, we're the #1 state for car theft, like people are stealing your cars, they'll have no problem stealing your bike, eh? Unfortunately, it's just a sad reality that we live in. America, yeah, I don't get that whole logic at all. To stop congestion, just build more lanes. It doesn't work like that. The more lanes you build, the more cars that are just going to keep on coming, mate. This is so cool. I love their theories. I love how it all works, and it's proven that it's working over there. Again, I don't see many people wearing any helmets. Do you get fined for not wearing helmets? And with the bikes, do you have to register your bikes? Like in Australia, you have to register your motorbikes and stuff like that because there are more bikes than there are cars and stuff. Is there like registration laws for bikes and stuff? Guys, jump on and let me know.
Reducing road noise is important in a city, and the city with less of it makes the city a better place to live. Amsterdam is known for having the atmosphere of a large village rather than of the largest city in the country because of the reasons above. Finally, another benefit of biking is that
It
it's
is a
a
great
good source of
exercise.
That helps
Absolutely.
to reduce the healthcare costs from the increase in exercise.
Yeah.
And because of a reduction of pollution, because
air
of
pollution,
less
you can
congestion
breathe
and
better.
heavy traffic.
So many
a person
pros.
could ask the question
Not many
that
cons
since
at all.
people that bike breathe in more heavily and go close to traffic, don't they inhale more
Carbon
air
dioxide,
pollution than
man.
a
Not
person
good.
that is in a car? Personally, I thought the same. While it is correct that people of active transport such as bikes and walking are exposed to more air pollution than people in a car, there are also studies that come to a conclusion that a person on a bike, when compared to a person in a car, will be exposed to less air pollution, even in a city clogged with traffic. The study claims this has to do with how a bike can avoid busy traffic on the streets, leading to quicker journey time in the city center,
it can
thus
go
less
faster, can't
exposure
it?
to harmful pollutants, and how with conditions such as rain and wind it can disperse pollutants. In a cabin of the car, the pollutants build up and
Yeah,
are
you're
the
stuck
reason
in
why
there breathing it
passengers
all
in
in, aren't
certain
ya?
cases in a car can be exposed to more air pollution than a person on a
Absolutely.
bike.
Yeah.
What cyclists can do is choose routes that have less traffic to further reduce their exposure.
There's
There
so
are
many
also
little
other studies
sidewalks
that
and
in
stuff
certain
like that, little
cases where
side
even
tracks
on
you can
busy
ride.
streets, cyclists have higher exposure. Although I have to mention that most of the studies that are done are more concentrated in Europe, North America, and Australia, which are a lot less polluted than Asia and other parts of the southern hemisphere. Despite the fact there is a bit of debate, and the true answer on exposure depends on many variables. What these studies do conclude, and what you need to know overall, is cycling is a net benefit to your health and the public's health, rather than using a car or being a couch potato. Over time, as the city builds more protected bike lanes such as the Netherlands and other European countries, more people will bike, causing reduction in pollution because of the drop in traffic,
And that's
which is
really,
better
really
for
cool.
everyone
What a
because
great
it does
outcome that
not
will be.
sound like this.
Yeah. Welcome to Brisbane, Australia,
While over
people.
time, it makes the city more beautiful for the person living there.
Now I understand why your country has more bikes than people, has more bikes than cars, and it is the cycling superpower that it is. It's all for positive reasons, mate. To avoid congestion, for air quality, for health. Just so many positives, man. In Australia, I would love us to move forward on this a little bit more, but it's not going to happen here. It's really not. We are way, way, way too overpopulated. And just to fix the problem, they're not really doing much at all. Like I said, they're just building more and more and more and more estates and trying to make the roads bigger, like trying to extend the lanes. But really, they can't. They really, really can't. And when they do extend them, mate, it's it's just causing more congestion because there's more estates and more people moving in, and it's just a mess. And like the air quality, it's horrible and it's loud. It's loud all the time. Okay, that was the video for today. I really enjoyed it. If you did, please jump on, smash the like button, leave a comment. Of course, remember to subscribe. That really helps me out. Also, guys, share your stories, your biking stories. Do you have to register your bike? Do you have to wear helmets? How does the whole parking bike garage thing work? Would love to hear all this information. Cheers from down under. Take care. Bye.